Hey, Patreons, welcome back to the Spotlight. This is our segment where we talk to creatives and celebs in the pop culture world who have been kind of shaping our love of fandom. And we've got a great one today. Actor Mark Ralston, who is been in countless things. I, at the tender age of 10, not a great time to watch that movie, saw Aliens when it came out in 1986. And there he was, PFC Drake, who had a lot of great bits in that show and so many other things. So, Mark, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing good. Doing good. Well, let's hop right into it because I would love to hear, all about your over 40-year career in the business. How did you get started?
Oh, wow. It was actually my father was a single parent, and he announced one day that on Saturdays, each of us had to choose something to do because we had to get out of the house so he could do the laundry and pay the bills, et cetera, et cetera. So my sister decided to do ballet. My brother played the guitar, and my father had taken us to the theater. We lived just outside of Washington, D.C., and we went to the Arena Stage there. There was also a smaller theater called the Washington Theater Club, and they had children's sort of weekend workshops. And those were the days when you could actually take a bus all the way from Bethesda, Maryland, all the way into downtown D.C.
Wow.
You wouldn't allow your child to do that these days.
No, I mean, yeah, my mom lives outside D.C., so we've taken that trip. And yeah, I can't imagine a kid riding a bus all that length.
Yeah, but these were also the days when D.C. was considered the murder capital of the country.
You're a survivor, Mark. You're a survivor.
Yeah, so I ended up traveling by myself by bus, spent most of the day there, and then travel back by myself. But, it was one of those things where, you got feedback from people. It's like, hey, you're funny or you're really good. And that sort of sparked my interest. And I was actually asked to turn professional by the Arena Stage at the age of 8.
Whoa.
And my father said no. My father was a very, I just call him a stoic sort of person. He was, former military Navy man, and he worked for the IBM and at the Federal Systems Division with top-level security clearances. And he just said, listen, you may not do this now at the age of 8. He said, you finish high school, you can do whatever you want. But, yeah. Of course, at being 8, I cried, and I was like, whoa, why can't I do this? And
right.
I'm actually really happy that he did that because, at the age of 18, when I got out of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I was going to go into pre-med and got to college and, you saw the electives and there was Theater 101. And I thought, oh, I know something about that. Easy A, I'll do that. I got cast as Bo Decker in the play, William Inge play Bus Stop.
Oh, wow.
And as they say, I was bitten. So bitten by the bug. And
yeah.
That was it. I had a great professor who was very keen on taking us through all of Stanislavski, the method. And then, oddly enough, one day in the Student Union building, there was a little notice that said, study junior year abroad. I thought, well, that could be interesting. Sent off for the prospectus, got it back, and they said at this one program, at this small college called Richmond College, that I could actually study at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art.
Wow.
Which turned out to be a total lie.
Great start.
Flew all that way with these, very, eager and enthusiastic thoughts of the Royal Academy. And it turned out that I could only do plays at this little Richmond college. But as serendipity would have it, the woman running the theater program had her husband, who was a fairly prominent theater and television actor called Anton Rogers. And he came in to direct us in some Chekhov one-act plays.
Wow.
And then while we were rehearsing one day, we became friendly, and he just inquired as to what my plans were after this junior year abroad. And I said, well, I'm probably going to go back to Frostburg State in Maryland and finish my degree. And he said, no, you're not. He said, no, He said, "You're going to stay here, and you're going to get a proper training." He said, "Because you're a real actor."
Wow.
So I called up my very stoic father, trepidatiously, and said, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to go to drama school to become an actor." And I thought he'd freak out, but he was actually very cool. He,
That's awesome.
yeah, he came back with this. He said, "Well, acting might be a hard road to hoe, but technology being what it is going to race ahead, and most people are going to be too lazy to actually get up off the couch and do something about it. But if they're going to be watching TV, they may as well watch you."
That is wow.
That's a great line.
I absolutely love that.
Green endorsement of my career.
I was going to say yes that is wow. I think that's absolutely terrific. Oh my goodness. Well, Peter's got a question about working on the stage.
Yeah. So you started your acting with the doing stage productions in school and then with overseas. I was curious how the stage acting, how that experience and how that approach to presence and such, how that translated to your other acting to both television and films.
The where I trained, 'cause it was really like a conservatory, was a place called the Drama Centre London, and made famous by people like Colin Firth, Tom Hardy, Michael Fassbender, and the likes of me. But it was a very, very specific training. It did have a method acting arm, but there were some real heavyweights, luminaries of the theatrical world in England. Christopher Fettis, who was an amazing dramaturge, and then his partner, Yat Malmgren, had this very specific training called movement psychology. It's a mix between Laban notation. I don't know if you know, that's like a dance notation, but it was actually created. It's a socialist program where they taught workers how to move efficiently so they wouldn't hurt themselves. So it's a real notation that choreographers use, Laban notation, but they blended it with Jungian psychology.
Wow.
So that what it became was a notation for actors so that everything you do, whether it's movement or your speech, is all psychologically motivated. Mm-hmm. And this is something we studied for 3 years, and only if you manage. When I went to the Drama Center, there were cuts. Like after each term, they cut the roster of students, and they did it for various reasons. For example, Pierce Brosnan went to the Drama Center.
Wow.
But he only lasted a year. And their reaction to him was like, "Listen, there's really nothing we can do for you. You're tremendously handsome. Our suggestion is go straight to Hollywood tomorrow, and you're going to be fine." Whereas I actually made it through to the third year, which was the performance year. And this theater training was the foundation of everything that I do, because you're right in asking the question, how does theater training or theater presence translate into film? Well, first, the training was a grounding, because it gave me an absolute technique to employ, right? And then the adjustments became, when you're in front of camera, they talk about doing nothing. Well, that's not really nothing, but you soon learn how to stay in frame. So I'd done a number of student films, actually with my son's godfather, and through the experimentation we did then, I learned very quickly that you can't be hopping around all the frame, emoting and acting. Like you have to be very, very focused, and it really all becomes, in your eyes and your intent in the scene. So I have a natural stage presence, and it was round about the time when I worked on Shawshank with Morgan Freeman. And Morgan was great. He said, "Look, I mean, we were chatting. I was asking him, so Morgan, like, what's the secret to it all? And he said, it's just talking. He said, just talk, just be real. No other, don't layer it up with a bunch of stuff, just talk. And when I did my audition for Shawshank, the first time in my career, actually, that I mean, not necessarily on stage, 'cause you know when you're on, right?
Yeah.
But it was really the first time that I had just spoken the role.
Wow.
And I came out of that audition thinking, oh my God, I found it. I finally experienced that nugget, and didn't hear anything for 3 months. And it wasn't until 3 months later that one morning at like 9 a.m., it was a rough time in that period of my life, but I was getting up, going off for my morning run, and I get a call from Frank Darabont at 9 a.m. saying that I had actually got the role of Boggs, but that he had been forced by Rob Reiner to take, sorry, my wife. So Rob Reiner forced him to go to New York and audition. He wouldn't tell me the names, but he said, you beat out so many big names.
Wow.
And I love telling this story most of all, is that when they came down to the last 5 choices for all the supporting roles in Shawshank, they had a big screening there at Castle Rock, and all the producers and Rob Reiner, et cetera, et cetera. They were going to view the last 5 choices for each of the supporting roles. And Reiner didn't want me. He kept telling Darabont, it's like, who is this guy? Go find somebody else. I'm not feeling him, so to speak. And Frank, at this screening, went to the projectionist, gave him my disc, and said, listen, at the end of the 5th audition, slip this in really quickly. And then, so there were 6 auditions screened, and apparently at the end of it, Frank stood up and said to Rob Reiner, and if you don't think that's the guy for this role, you're stupid.
Wow.
Other choice words that he would have rather said, but
yeah. Oh
yes,
my gosh.
we all need angels in this world, and Frank Darabont was my absolute angel, because
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
Shawshank being what it is, we had no idea it would become what it's become, but
No kidding. Yeah.
That's a great film.
what an amazing piece of work. It actually worked to act a little bit to my detriment, because people in Hollywood, they sort of pigeonhole you, and they thought that, oh yeah, you're the creep from Shawshank. Like,
Oh, no. Yeah, kind of hard to get away from that. But yeah, Frank, I've always really admired Frank Darabont's work. He was the one who got The Walking Dead on TV, and what an incredible show that I've followed ever since, for the last 15 years. But yeah, he was only really involved in the beginning, but he really put his footprint in that show.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, because Walking Dead, from what I hear from fans, is that the first season was their favorite.
Oh, there's no doubt. And it was only 6 episodes, which is crazy, but it was so razor sharp.
And the problem is because Frank is a brilliant writer. He's a perfectionist writer. And unfortunately, in television, they don't want perfection. They just
want to keep going.
Spit it out.
Yep.
Done. And Frank just doesn't work that way. We were friendly for a long time after Shawshank, and occasionally Frank, you'd call him up, and there'd be a message on his phone. Hi, this is Frank. I'm on a writing deadline, so I'm not picking up my phone until November. So,
it's honest, and I get it.
yeah, but he's that kind of writer, and very detailed.
Oh wow,
That's awesome.
That's wild. Well, I tipped off at the top talking about my experience with aliens, because I'm a sci-fi guy. You look around the room, and Peter and I do a Star Trek show, so we're sci-fi geeks. And aliens, right around about 1985-ish. You were in the UK. You auditioned. You got the role for Drake, who was one of my favorites of the group. Yeah, absolutely. And I loved his relationship with Jeanette Goldstein's character, which from a Star Trek parlance, they modeled Tasha Yar, who was a character in Star Trek The Next Generation, after her. Yeah. So tell me something about. I know making that film in the UK was there was a lot to it, and there's a lot of incredible stories. But I'd love to hear one of yours. What was one of your stories about making that film?
Hey, Secret Friends Unite, let me tell you about Zencastr. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. Provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencastr because of the ease of use, high quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencastr has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencastr? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with a click of a button. So if you're interested in making an easy, high-quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SFU1. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show.
Well, gosh, there's so many, but I didn't really. I mean, I'd seen Alien, but it was so many years in between that didn't automatically register. When I said, and even my agent back then, she said, "Yeah, it's some sci-fi film about aliens or something." And of course, when we were auditioning, we all read Hudson's lines. Even Jeanette, when she auditioned, read Hudson.
Oh, gosh.
Interesting. Okay.
But I was under the delusion that I was actually auditioning for Hudson.
Uh-oh. It makes sense.
Yeah, it wasn't until the second or third audition when they finally said, "Hey, we want you to read this role." But one of my favorite anecdotes was the last meeting was I go all the way out to Pinewood Studios. I get ushered into Jim and Gail Ann Hurd's office, and the first thing that struck me was that in his office there was plastered on the walls, all four walls, in sequence, Jim's storyboard for the entire film. And
oh my gosh!
He's not a stick figure artist; he's a fine artist, and these were fine art drawings. And it was kind of overwhelming because everywhere you looked, there were, and I imagine what he drew is exactly what is on screen. But sat down and they said, we want you to play the role of Drake with one provision: you've got to bulk up. So we're going to put you into training here. We got a trainer. You're going to come out here 6 days a week. And we really need you to put on a lot of muscle. And I was in shape, but I only weighed 182 pounds.
Oh, jeez. Big difference.
By the time I was done, I was 230.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
In 4 months.
Yeah.
And, had this tremendous guy, a gentleman called John Lees. He was actually the motor behind the power loader. So when you see Sigourney moving in the power loader, that's actually this guy, John Lees, walking with Sigourney. This guy had biceps the size of both my thighs put together. And he got me to a point where I had 80-pound dumbbells in each hand, and I was doing flies in the gym with 80 pounds in each hand. So he pumped me up.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And yeah, talk about a film that made a dent on a generation of guys like us. But and that was Jim Cameron's first big explosion because he had Terminator. It was an independent film, and then they had this, and it was just whoa.
Yeah. Funnily enough, Alien's budget was $18 million.
Oh my gosh.
That's it. In today's world, it'd be $180 million.
Oh,
right?
yeah, or more. Right. Yeah.
But think about it. The thing I find most fascinating about Aliens is the fact that this was all good old-fashioned filmmaking.
Right.
It was lighting tricks, camera movement, and Jim is such a visionary. All practical effects, no CGI.
Right. Didn't exist. Yeah.
And you play Aliens today, and there's not a
Holds up.
single moment where you go, caught you, right? Maybe there's one where, like, when they're actually hurtling down to the planet, and you see the cockpit with Furrow and I can't think of the other character's name.
The other guy.
Danny Cash's character. But
Yeah.
for a second there, you go, oh, okay, why? It's a set. I get it.
Yeah.
But in a split second, everything else, like, you were immersed in the world that Jim Cameron created.
It was very real. Very real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'll go watch it again tonight or maybe sometime this week. That's just an incredible film. Peter.
One of the things I was looking through is you've done a bit of voice acting. I've dabbled a little bit in it. But you've brought to life like iconic characters like Lex Luthor, Norman Osborn. You've been in like multiple different universes across like different genres. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that experience, because obviously voice acting is quite different, at least in our perception, from like acting on stage or acting in front of the camera.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely adore voice work. Early in my career, when I was a student at the Drama Center, my first year, there came in a request for any American actors to audition to dub a foreign film. And they granted me the right to go off and take time off school to go and audition, and I eventually got the role. And what it was I was revoicing Jackie Chan into English, American English.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I did 3 different titles. I did Drunken Master, Drunken Monkey, and one other title I can't recall the name of. But when I was doing Rush Hour with Jackie, in a quiet moment, I just said, hey, Jackie, by the way, I've revoiced you in a couple of your early movies. And he was completely taken aback and looked at me and he went, you or me? No way.
That's awesome.
I absolutely adore the work. And to answer your question, you need to be an actor. I mean, a real actor, when you're imbuing a character with solely your voice. You really need to know the intention of the character, et cetera, et cetera. And, of late, having done Norman Osborn for the Spider-Man series, I hear we're just about to start Spider-Man 3, which will be fantastic. But the people at Insomniac Games, I mean, they're highly creative and very, very collaborative. It's just been tremendous because the gaming world is a whole nother platform for us. And, years ago, I started off, I did something called Destination Battlefield or something like that. And all my buddies were saying, oh, wow, man, really, you're doing games, huh? Everything okay? Like, do you need help? Do you need a little money or something? And they didn't realize the gaming world pays like a movie, like you're doing a movie, and they have a shit ton of money to spend on their productions. I mean, each game costs around $200 million to produce from beginning to end. It's like a 5-year process. But of course, the very day it's released, they make $1 billion.
Of course. Yeah, exactly.
Not a bad.
It's a great ROI. There's no doubt about it. So you've got a resume like as long as both my arms of playing some pretty shady characters. We've already talked about them. Shawshank. Peter and I watched recently an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation where you were this ghost of a killer that was embedded in the walls of the Enterprise. And we talked about Lex Luthor. So is it true what they say that it's more fun to be the bad guy? Because that's just the vibe I always get. No? Yes?
No, absolutely. It's more fun. I mean, because you get to do things that you would only dream about doing. I mean, maybe,
Hopefully.
But the only downside to it all is that you don't get to kiss the girls.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's always more fun. But being the hero, not as much fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've managed to play quite a few creepy characters. Segueing a little bit away from that as I get older, but you never know. There could be something delicious down the road.
Yeah. Good creep roll comes back your way.
He did the role of Alistair, the demon of all demons in Supernatural.
Oh, yeah.
And that's actually my favorite role of all. Just so happened to be the day I was on set. Joss Whedon was away doing a location shoot, and they had an executive there, but he was an underling, and he just kind of let me go. And I had an absolute ball. I was deliciously wicked in this role. So much that the night I was watching with my family, my girls were sitting with me, and my youngest, during the course of the show, kept creeping down the couch away from me and cowering in the corner. And I caught her. I was like, "What are you doing? Get back here!" She's like, "No, Dad, no, you're creeping me out. Like, what? You're so mean. And like, well, what's that voice?" And so I knew if I got my own daughter, I was doing a good job.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Peter.
I mean, you kind of answered this already, but is there a role that you really enjoyed playing that you would like to return to in any capacity?
I begged them on Supernatural. I said, at least, well, you see what happened was I did 2 episodes, and then mysteriously I was replaced. Now it was one of two things. It was either ages. I mean, the excuse they had was like, "Oh, Alistair is demon of all demons. He can morph himself into anything." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well."
I mean, yeah, sure.
Tough luck. But the guy they replaced me with was around like 35. He was, tremendously handsome, and that show, their viewership is primarily women.
Right.
I get it. Or it was ageism, or it was the fact that I was just a little too interesting because
that's number 3. You got it.
Number 3. I was a little too interesting because I was actually flown by the Supernatural fan club of Birmingham, England. They actually flew me all the way to Birmingham because I've been voted their favorite villain of the series.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was such fun. Yeah, I begged them. I said, "Please let me make one more appearance." Come on, they had 17 seasons. I mean, they could have.
Well, supposedly there may be something coming back in the not too distant future. So
everything comes around again. Everything comes around again in TV, I'll tell you.
So it'd be interesting to see if they could throw me a bone. But yeah, it was just such fun.
That's awesome. I always like to wrap it up by asking, what do you got going on right now? What are you working on?
Well, at the moment, I've got a film in development that we're hopeful, but right now in the film world, financing is a bit hard to come by. But we're waiting to attach an actress. It's a female-centric piece. It's a heist movie. So waiting to see if we get some financing for that. But other than that, I'm waiting to do Spider-Man 3.
Yes.
And I was doing Bosch, the TV series on Amazon, and I was in Bosch Legacy. But at the moment in town, it's a little bit quiet.
Yeah. It'll come around again. Well, this has been, Mark, oh my God, this has been great. You are the first dynamite actor that we've had on this show, and this has been extremely educational. I just absolutely love talking to you, man. This has been great. So Patrons, thanks for tuning in. If you're listening to this on our free feed, patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Try us out for 7 days for free and get to hear more great interviews. But Mark, you've been great. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. And look forward to seeing you on the big screen or the little one.
Absolutely. And with my real pleasure, and thanks a lot. It was a lot of fun.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member. Get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.